After their epic first public stress test, the Monsters and Memories team has released a massive 2 months worth of patch notes. I'll walk you through all the details as we discover what the team has been hammering out as a rocket towards getting their proof of concept created. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfy, and let's dive in. To begin, there's been a ton of art done in the last 2 months. Under character art, they list worked on items as Shadow Knight plate set, plate armor updates for red mantles and copper plate set, chain armor updates, leather armor update, human male model update, new faces for female humans, prepped ogre male for new rig, set up all weapons and shields on the lerping system, added wand model, added kukri model, added butcher's knife model. Next in the art section is character concepts. These are class illustrations that will be for use in a coming website update, and mob concepts. I've been able to catch some of their Twitch streams and watch them working on the Ashira, which is coming along as a pretty cool mob. The spider looks pretty wicked, but my favorite piece is the dog that is laden with traveling gear and a torch. I can't wait to see that in-game. The next section is environment art. This is a long list of fixes in each of the zones, so I'll just name the zones. You'll want to come back and see individually all the different things that they've done in each zone. They worked on Night Harbor, Wormsbane, Night Harbor Fields and Sungreet Strand, Customer Service Zone, Telekir, Zone Template, Shaders, Prefabs, and a couple of bugs. Next up is environment concepts and 2D art. Included are Telekir concepts and Previs, as well as signage for places like the Shaded Bloom Inn, Salt Breeze Park, the Bank and Tannery, the Spirit Tap, which I'm guessing is a tavern of sorts, and Wayfarer's Hospice. They also worked on the Night Harbor typeface, which I've heard on one of their Twitch streams took quite a bit of effort to settle on. They've created numerous item icons like gems and food items, and an installer update. There was a ton of music added, like merchants, trainers, and zone music. When you have the time, the music is a must-hear. Head over to their updates section on their website and give it a listen. You won't be sorry. They also worked on effects, adding sounds for bat, beetle, ghoul, zombie, ship wood creaking, teleport pads, enter world stinger, wood chopping, and spinning domes. Under animation, they continued animation cleanup and bug fixing, inverse kinematics, and head tracking explorations, giving examples of each on the website. Next up is the big meaty bits, game design. They worked on character controller. They increased slope allowance and step height. Under content, most name mobs in the game have been rebalanced and received various immunity flags. Generic name test spell merchants have returned for all classes. Guards have longer aggro and social ranges. Started base pop for Telekir. Several merchant NPCs who no longer needed to be one are no longer merchants. Several barkeeps now properly stock goods. The suspicious salesman has finally obtained his merchant license to open up shop. You can now buy and sell from him. Many NPCs who misplaced their clothing are now clothed. If you see an NPC you think should be clothed, please let us know. clarification, adjustments, and further work on history, lore, and future content planning. Various crafting fixes. Under itemization, some item slots, sizes, and weights have been adjusted. Summon throwing daggers is no longer no drop. Lightstones can now be used in belt slots. All Wormsbane armor is no longer able to be sold to or purchased from merchants. You can no longer wield several two-handed staves in your offhand. General abilities. Mesmerize cast time reduced from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds. Necromancer Shadow Knight Deluge Poison dot line has been rebalanced. Necromancer Shadow Knight Corruption Snare dot line has been rebalanced. Skeleton Pet now does 25% less melee damage. Initial pass for Necromancer and Shadow Knight Zombie and Ghoul pets, only different from Skeleton aesthetically currently. Weak healing changed from 3 to 6 to a flat 4. Weak healing cast time reduced from 1.5 to 1 second. Minor heal mana cost increased from 8 to 10. Lesser heal healing reduced from 30 to 25. Lesser heal mana cost increased from 20 to 25. Heal healing reduced from 65 to 60. Greater heal healing reduced from 340 to 360 to a flat 250. Exceptional heal healing reduced from 800 to 600. For classes, Beastmaster. Rat Pet now does 25% less melee damage. Cleric, Impart Blessing healing reduced from 40 to 35. Impart Blessing mana cost increased from 15 to 20. Impart Prayer healing increased from 80 to 85. Impart Prayer mana cost increased from 30 to 40. For Druid, Touch of Nature direct healing decreased from 20 to 17. Touch of Nature heal over time decreased from 10 to 9. Touch of Nature mana increased from 10 to 20. Touch of Earth direct healing increased from 40 to 43. Touch of Earth heal over time increased from 20 to 21. Touch of Earth mana cost increased from 20 to 40. Elementalist. Fire and water pets now do 50% less melee damage. Earth Pet now does 25% less melee damage. Enchanter. Added Shadowkin pet line. Ranger can now use Corruption Protection. Corruption resistance changed from level 44 to level 24. Fire Protection is now level 7, down from 8. Minor Heal is now level 8, up from 7. Shaman. Poisonous gas has been rebalanced and now has its full line in-game. Malady has been rebalanced and now has its full line in-game. Build out the poison dot line with abilities: Envenomed Cloud, Tainted Fumes, Billow of Blight, Toxicant Vapors, and Blistering Toxin. Build out the disease dot line with abilities: Infectious Disease, Shuddering Sickness, Afflicting Ailment, Irking Illness, and Virulent Virus. Melee slow line has been changed from -20%, -30%, -40%, 50%, 60 to -10%, -20%, -30%, -40%, -50%. Now categorized as a primary slow, which cannot stack with other primary slows, but stacks with secondary slows. Healing spores, healing per tick reduced from 8 to 7. Healing spores mana cost increased from 10 to 20. Salubrious spores healing per tick increased from 16 to 17. Salubrious spores mana cost increased from 30 to 40. For Spellblade, Flame Burst is now level 7, down from 8. Chilling Embrace is now level 8, up from 6. Magic Protection is now level 6, down from 7. Added new abilities to the Infuse weapon. Chilling Embrace line, Icy Embrace, level 24, is a 3% slow per application. Wintry Embrace, level 40, is 4% slow per application, 20% total. Frozen Embrace, level 56, the 5% slow per application, with 25% total. Infuse weapon. Chilling Embrace line now has a lower chance to proc than it did previously, still higher than other infusions. Infuse weapon, Chilling Embrace line now categorized as a secondary slow, which cannot stack with other secondary slows, but stacks with primary slows wizard. Telekinetic knockback is no longer unresistible. Bolt of Frost renamed Frostbolt. Build out Frostbolt line with Ice Bolt, Freezing Bolt, and Chilling Bolt. There was a full QA and review of all 18 class quests. Highlights include dialogue clarification on many quests, broken and missing dialogue fixed, several turn-ins and rewards now work properly, several quest items and rewards are no longer able to be traded or usable by other classes. Several quest items that should stack now stack. Several rewards had slots adjusted and are now unique. Several worn quest items and rewards now have graphics. Sonastan's instructions to you should be clearer to prevent confusion. Sonastan's quest line had several changes to prevent cheesing and skipping. Arvalin root and decanter of aged ambergris are now properly dropping. Some casters in the smuggler camp have figured out how to cast their spells. Ashira shaman have discovered they are shaman and not fighters. Toma has decided to start wearing his ring more often. Toma no longer is interested in keeping fingers as a keepsake. This should help with some confusion with quest drops. Silver Slash now works properly and the resulting drop is confirmed. That doesn't mean it's guaranteed. The remaining quest to turn in your newbie note for a chest item were removed now that all initial class quests are available. Next section is tech. These last 2 months, they had 409 tech-facing commits to the game, and so rather than overwhelm you and themselves with a massive list of bullet points, they thought they would highlight some and give more details. They state, "We would like to reiterate that the biggest outcome of the stress test were refactors and optimizations to the netcode, which are described in last month's update in detail. Please refer back to that if you are interested." Under UI updates, the UI so far has been an area which we have not put in much effort past basic functional. We have decided this last month to put in more work into it to go from functional to workable, with the knowledge that a lot more work needs to go into it. They show some examples of their UI work. They have a really small UI, which is very tiny. Then a really big UI, which I personally like. They show the new background texture labels. You can make font size really big. I don't think I'd need it quite that big yet, but very helpful. Confirmation boxes. The merchant UI got tons of upgrades and additional information showing up if you have the commerce skill. A much better than previous chat message that you got, which was often missed. So this is the group invite window. Manfredo has invited you to their party. Do you wish to join? You can hold the Alt key to show icon names in your inventory. Skill trainers now show what level you need to gain a skill. They state in the near future, we are also refactoring the ability book UI. We want to make it much clearer which spellbook you are trying to scribe to or memorize from, as well as differentiate between skills and innate abilities and spellbook abilities in many ways. And that was definitely one of the things that I noticed when I was playing this stress test. It was very confusing which skills went in which part of your book. They also state, we are also in the process of working through the buff window to make it easier to figure out what is going on, harder to click off abilities by mistake, and generally make the whole window nicer and easier to use. In the process, we have introduced a buff limit that is a generous 30 buffs, which is in line with our focus on smaller player count content. They've made some fizzle changes. They state, we have made some changes to the ability fizzling to make it both less exploitable and less punishing. Fizzling now occurs at 25% cast time rather than at the end, which that would be very frustrating to fizzle at the end of your spell. Interrupt is checked before fizzle and will block skill gain if you do not recover, even if the ability fizzles. A popular exploit that was found and then verified over and over and over and over was running while casting a fizzling ability to rapidly skill up casting skills. That feature has been removed. Next up, quest and mud object conditions. New conditions for more robust interactions have been made available to the designers. Checking for an item in your inventory while interacting with an NPC or a mud action. Checking for a buff or buff effect such as See Invisible when interacting with a mud action. Consuming of items or buffs which can be hidden from the user when interacting with mud actions. New mud action type TRG, which can only be triggered by special conditions such as entering a volume. Next, item activation. They state an issue we have always suffered through and yet is critical to our game is the usage of fuel from light-emitting items. Simply having an item equipped was enough to consume its fuel, even if we are using the light of a different item or a buff. This has been changed by introducing activatable items. They show the torch here. Only 1 out of the 3 light sources is active. You can now equip a torch, but leave it deactivated so that you don't use its fuel or switch between items based on need. Social aggro changes. Social aggro has been an area that was as well classified as functional, but not much past that. It was acting a bit unpredictably at times, both not picking up socials and unexpectedly picking up socials, chaining or through walls. They state we have made a series of changes to address this. Where the possible social NPC was close enough, we would use an optimization of skipping the line of sight check. This, in hindsight, was a very bad idea. We were picking up a lot of social aggro through walls where placement was very logical. This used to social aggro through the wall. This was found by introducing aggro visualization tools for GMs. We found a slew of other bugs relating to social aggro through walls. They state one nasty one was that we could social aggro through geo backfaces. This only happened when the line of sight check originates below the floor, which can happen when checking from an NPC origin against an NPC below you. The social aggro line of sight check used to go through the floor to the skeleton below. This was addressed by moving the check origin up a bit. We moved the lowest origin up to the knee height to avoid clipping the floor. We were also social aggro checking immediately after the NPC engages in combat. This was causing chain aggro. Previously, aggroing red would social aggro green, which would social aggro blue. This has been addressed by introducing social aggro start delays, a small delay on regular aggro and a larger delay on social aggroed. AI state. NPC AI is designed in a finite state machine. Every state has its own enter, exit, and update logic and conditions for transitioning to another state. Visualization of some of our AI states. After disengaging from combat, NPCs used to handle pausing and waiting before going back home in the NPC Commands AI. This was very complex as the NPC Commands AI state became a state that serves multiple purposes, while itself being a finite state machine for the different commands available, such as go to, wander, etc. Additionally, they were also handling pausing outside of the main AI in the navigation logic. They state, we moved all of this logic into a new pausing state and made our lives so much easier. Next up, pet window. Pet commands used to be in the command palette, which means they were visible but disabled for all classes and whether you have a pet up or not. They say they moved all this into a dedicated pet window UI that also includes a pet health bar, cast bar, and the ability to enable and disable ability usage, such as taunt. Next is fixed ranged auto-attacking bug. As many of you have found during the public test, ranged attacking was a little bit hit or miss. Initially, we thought it was weirdness in the line of sight detection. Though this is one system that has always been pretty solid. Upon further investigation, we found that it was a side effect of recent physics changes on the server. At certain times, the server thought you were falling even though you were standing, which prevents ranged auto attacks. The underlying physics issue was fixed, which fixed ranged auto attacking. We can't wait for rangers and archers to give it another shot. Oh no, we have devolved into a full-scale punathon. Item persistence refactor. Items got a huge upgrade in May. We have had several item persistence related bugs, especially when looting from your corpse, that we have delayed fixing because we knew we were going to redo the item persistence system. We had to redo the system in order to support persistent storage in bags, world containers, boats, houses, pack animals, etc. In the old system, they state, we were persisting items and records related to your character inventory, which a slot identifier for every single possible slot. This meant that if we decided we wanted bigger bags, we had to create more slot identifiers. They also did not really have a concept of containment. For example, I-100 was the first bag slot, while I-101 was the first slot in that bag. When moving the bag to slot I-200, we would have to also move I-101 to I-201. If there was a bag already there, we would have to write the existing items over to a virtual bag slot, _100, and all its containing items as well into _101, etc., because the locations were enforced unique on the database. This has been completely thrown out and redone. Items may now be owned by characters, bags, world containers, and other owner types. We now only maintain container and slot number, which is a lot more suitable for our future use cases. We had to create special slots on the character record for inventory slots, bank slots, trade slots, etc., which are defined in code, and we had to write loading code where it would audit the container inventory when it's loaded in case of any incorrect slots and auto-move them to valid slots. Overall, this has also made our life much simpler. The next big update is zoning refactor. They state, this month, zoning also got a huge upgrade. Zoning used to work via a volume to a point transition, where we save the destination in the database before sending the client to the next zone. Show the example of the Night Harbor to Shaded Dunes zone line. There are fundamental problems even beyond the obvious in this process. 1. They say we are moving from anywhere on a wide zone line to a point. The process depends on saving the destination, which means that if the destination zone is unavailable or incorrect, then the character gets stuck. Number 3, it is difficult to set up correctly because the destination is not visible in the editor, due to it being in a different zone from the one we are editing. They state, we have solved this issue by changing the entire process. We now, 1, have records of the zone lines in data. Number 2, set a destination zone on the client, an encoded position, as a factor of where within the zone volume we were, and the zone line ID. 3, we then send the client to the destination zone. Number 4, if anything goes wrong, we send the client back to the original zone and last position outside of the zone volume. 5, if we are handed off correctly, the destination zone calculates the appropriate position and places the client there. 6, this has the added bonus of having zone lines be connected zone line to zone line, which means that we can see both zone lines in the editor and only have to link them together. 7, we can also find an alternative appropriate destination if the original one is not suitable. For example, by trying to find locations close to the original destination. They show the new zone line places you where you expect to be. The zone line now correctly places you on the ground. The last list of additional tech changes. Added %tsay quest text command that sends a message only to the target. Improved issue where pressing a movement key just before submitting chat would sometimes cause your character to stand. Updated ability book scroll texture background. Cast bar clears properly when switching targets. Cast bar shows properly when targeting an enemy that is already casting. Fixed unit frame cast bar remaining when switching targets during cast. Adjusted center of client character controller so they stand more firmly on the ground. Fixed issue where unit frame cast bars would not appear if the entity's spell didn't have particle effects. Updated default layout of UI elements. Move target frame cast bar below mana bar. Increased vertical movement threshold required to interrupt memorization to fix Insta interrupt bug. Added chat opacity setting. Fix the order of some chat context menu options to be consistent with others. Fixed invisible cursor if panning camera while disconnected. Opening a merchant window will close the skill trainer window if it's up, and vice versa. UI scale setting now affects escape menu, keybinds menu, notes UI, and resurrection UI. Fixed linking items that contain a colon. Changed the minimum UI scale from 0.1 to 0.5. The 0.1 setting made some things unclickable. Allow /chat font size to go up to 20. Added pet UI that appears when you have a pet. Players can now toggle which abilities pets use. Fixed performance on some GM commands. Added invite pop-up window. Added scrolling for the note item UI so long text doesn't overflow the window. Added Unity integrated DB tooling for static objects. And that is it, friends. That was a massive 2-month update and a lot to get through, but hopefully you found it informative. Let me know down in the comments. I hope to cover future Monsters and Memories patch notes for you, so let me know if you'd like to see more content like this by hitting that like button if you found value in it and subscribing for future videos. Of course, all links will be found in the description. Take care, and thanks for watching.